What's up, everybody? We are less than a week away from the Moving Titan Retreat, the biggest moving industry event of the year for independent moving company owners. And listen, a lot of moving companies aren't going to be at this event. We've got room for just about 300 people. That's less than 1% of the entire industry. And in today's economy, we've got high interest rates. Yeah, they might have dropped a half a point, but they're still really freaking high compared to where they were a couple of years ago. Houses still are not moving, and it's probably going to be another long, slow season. We are in one of the worst economies since 2008, and you'll hear more about that in this episode with Louis Massaro about how much of a struggle 2008 was. It's a presidential election year, and there's going to be a lot of companies that don't come to this event because they don't think that they need to. They're too busy. They can't get away from their own businesses. And there's a huge opportunity to buy up market share in every single market across the country right now. The top 1% of moving companies are going to be able to get the opportunity to leverage certain things that the other companies aren't even going to know about, technologies, tactics, strategies. We live in a completely different world now than we did when even Louis Massaro was hosting his events that, he did over the last 8 years. Things have changed so much, and we talk about that in this episode. So it's not too late to grab a ticket. You can get a ticket now for the event in just a few days, or this is the first time that we're announcing this, but we are going to be doing a live stream for $497. If you want to grab the live stream, buy it now before prices go up to $997 on that, because you do not want to miss how Tommy Mello has taken his business to $270 million. You don't want to miss from world-class branding person Dan Antonelli, Lenny Gray, the door-to-door millionaire, which is something completely missing from the moving industry that I guarantee your competition isn't doing. Louis Massaro, who just got done working with Dean Grazioso and Tony Robbins and is about to start getting into buying and partnering with moving companies. This event is going to be the magic bullet that saves your business. Not only saves your business, even maybe you're not struggling, but allows you to eat up market share and dominate your market. So it's not too late to grab your tickets. We have a few left. We've got room for about 300 people. We got, 200, close to 300. Last I counted, it was just a few under that. So grab a ticket. If we are sold out by the time you grab your ticket, grab a live stream ticket before those prices jump up, which will happen probably the 24 to 48 hours before the event. We only have a few days left. So come to Tampa, October 2nd to the 4th. Come hang out with me, with Louis, with Tommy, and all the other amazing speakers that we're going to have. You're not going to want to miss this. So see you there and tighten up. At Two College Brothers Moving, Storage, and Franchising, we are Team Smartmoving. This has been the CRM that we have used for the last 4 years, and it has grown right alongside with us. I love all the features, all the reporting tools, how easy it makes to schedule, book, sell, dispatch crews. It really is an intuitive software. It's really dialed in without the bugs and the glitches that we've experienced with other softwares in the past. So it still amazes me if a company is not using a CRM. I still find companies that are doing it the old-fashioned way with spreadsheets and calendars and notes and handwriting job orders, and you don't have to do that with Smartmoving. That's a bottleneck that's holding you back if that's you. So make the switch to Smartmoving, whether you're using a CRM or not. It truly is the smartest move you'll ever make, just like we tell our clients that we're the smartest move you'll ever make. So check out Smartmoving today and schedule your free demo. All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. And I've got with me today the man who started it all, somebody who's helped me tremendously along my journey over the last 8 years, and really was the one who helped me turn the lights on and figure out this whole game that we call moving and storage. Today's guest is the one and only Louis Massaro, the original founder of Neighbors Moving and Storage, who grew a massive 8-figure company and sold it to found Moving Mastery, which he's been doing for the last 8 years and has helped myself and so many other listeners on this podcast. He also co-founded Smartmoving, which is the CRM of choice for myself and many, many listeners on this podcast. And he's going to be speaking at our retreat in 1 week as of this recording. Cannot wait to get you out there, Louis. I know you're not having an event this year, and we're so grateful that you've decided to come out to ours and have been helping us along the way. And I know you've been working with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi doing some big things, but for the listeners, would you mind kind of telling everybody where has Louis been over the last year and what is next for Louis Massaro?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Wade. I'm fired up about the retreat next week, man. It's about time you guys started putting something on, and I'm just glad that you're taking it to the level you are. And it'll be a good time next week. So we're right there. Yeah. So, man, well, thanks for the intro. And where have I been? So, like you said, the last 8 years, my mission has been to elevate this industry. And I've given everything I can to as many people as I can and laid it all out, right? Here's the systems, here's the processes, here's the mindset, here's the tools, here's the courses, the worksheets, whatever that might be. And then late last year, I came to this place where, something had been inside of me brewing for a little bit. And it's just, a little uneasiness. And, what I realized was that I needed to feel challenged again. It's nice to give back. It's nice to help others. It's nice to put on the seminars and get the energy together and get everybody in the room. And that's why, even though I'm not doing an event this year, that's why I'm excited to be at your event. But I needed something bigger. And I was talking with a good friend and mentor of mine. You mentioned Dean Graziosi. So yeah, I was feeling a little restless. I was feeling like I needed to kind of get into something a little bit more challenging. And so I was kind of talking to my friend and mentor, Dean Graziosi, which you mentioned. And, he's partners with Tony Robbins and mastermind.com, and just somebody that I've looked up to for a long, long time. And I've got an opportunity to get close with him over the last few years. And, I'm like, man, well, I got to find something that really lights me up. Like, I love giving back, but I could do that anyways. I could still put out content, but I need something to really sink my teeth into. And we started talking about some different options, some different things. And he said, why don't you come and help Tony and I build this thing? We're looking to go from, I won't share the numbers, but from this level to this level. That this level's 9 figures, right? And we need someone like you that could come in and help us with the infrastructure, help us with the leadership, help us build out the teams that we need and the programs that we need. And how do you say no to that? How do you, pass on an opportunity to work with, two of the, biggest influences in my life, and people that have done things at such a high level. And, I'm a big believer in growth. Like, if we're not growing, we're dying. And I think that's a little bit of what was going on. I was feeling a little bit of like, man, I'm not really growing. Like, this is not challenging me. I'm serving everybody, but it was like, man, the seminars, the courses, like, hey, it's there, guys. Go get it. Jump in, do the work, and build your business, turn your life around. It's all there already. But how do I want to choose to spend my time? So it was like, I thought about it very quickly, and I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So the beginning of this year, I went in, started working very closely with Dean and helping him and Tony build out a brand new program, literally helped them change the game, and did my part. I mean, these guys, they would have done it without me. I don't want to come in there like, oh, if it wasn't for me. But to go and be a part of an organization that operates at a higher level, that is about service and helping people, and to be around the leadership that, man, I got to learn, and I got to grow, and I got to develop, and I got to be challenged and do something hard that was outside of my, this was not moving, right? This was not moving related whatsoever. I was really helping build something to help those that want to do what I did, and build a following and courses and help people give back. So it was like the ability to say, man, I'm going to help these people, and then these people are going to go help more people. That was rewarding for me. So the first part of this year, that's what I've been doing. I've been working with them, building out really their flagship program, their whole back-end system, working closely with Dean. And during that time, in many conversations, I realized that, 24, 25 years ago when I got into the moving business when I was 19. My goal is to, it's like, oh man, I don't know. I used to think, oh, that was my young thinking. I'm like, I'm going to open 50 locations. I'm going to build $100 million business. And throughout the years, I, got derailed. The first part was in the 2008 recession, right? And then, you're moving forward. And I think a lot of the listeners right now can relate to this because the last couple of years have been pretty tough in moving, right? There's a lot of companies that are crushing it, and they've kind of found their lane, and they're able to get into that lane right now and capture market share. And then we've got, people that are doing things the same way. They're struggling a little bit, right? Things need to be done different. But anyways, I love the path that all of that took me to, and everything that, we did with Moving Mastery over the last 8 years. But it was like, man, I've got this itch to do something bigger. And I realized that sometimes we put something out there and we say we want to do something, and then it gets hard. And we allow ourselves to take an easier path. We allow ourselves to explore, right? Some people might say this is, chasing down shiny objects. But I also think that, I'm a heart-driven person, right? Like I like to operate and do things that I feel good and I feel passionate about. So I never look back and have any regret that I took this direction or took that direction, because it all led to great stuff, right? It all led to what we're trying to do, all of us, which is evolve, right? As individuals in our businesses and in our business capacity as a leader. But I want to go back to that. And so when I'm thinking about how do I really solidify my mission of elevating this industry, I think from a, teaching and guiding and sharing and training standpoint, kind of done everything that I can do. So, and I've watched those execute and I've watched those not execute. And I believe in this industry right now. It's down, right? We know what's going on with the housing market. We know what's going on with interest rates. We know we've got an election coming up, all of this stuff. But I believe there's an opportunity right now to come in and utilize the technology that we have and the advancements that are out there, and then look at how many companies are stuck really in the old ways and aren't doing things and probably won't adapt. I mean, there's just some that just won't. I watched it in 2008 when, at the time we were spending $250,000 a month in Yellow Pages. That was the thing. And if I just kept riding that, that would put me right out of business, right? So you had to adapt, you had to evolve, you had to change, you had to learn the new ways of doing it. And so now, with working with Dean and Tony, I shut down most of my programs. It was a sad few calls where I, had to tell people, hey, this is going to be our last call. I still have Profit and Thrive Mastermind going, which is, my high level group of moving company owners that don't just want to, succeed in business, but also want to thrive in life. But now I'm really focused on investing and partnering with those that share those values, those that share that vision. Like, let's elevate the industry. What does that mean? What does it mean to elevate the industry, right? It sounds very grandiose. It's all about the customer, right? If you think about it, like, how do we provide a better service for the customer? We spend so much time, I spend so much time, you spend so much time talking about it, like the back end of the business, how to get leads, how to book more jobs, how to train your movers, right? How to deal with all the, the problems. But what does a customer really care about? They care about that crew that shows up at their house. They care that whatever was discussed over the phone or in person is what actually happens on the day of the move, right? And so how do we elevate that? How do we make it so that, the reputation of the moving industry from the past, of the movers kind of being the bad guys, to no, the movers are the good guys? How do we step in and help companies step up so that they elevate that experience, which is one of the most stressful times that somebody goes through, right? I mean, moving, funeral, divorce, moving. How do we step in and make an impact in their lives? And that for me is really what I've been focused on teaching others to do. And now I'm like, you know what? There's so many changes. There's so many things we need to adapt to for this new way of doing the business.
Most of you have heard me talk about Moversville and the power of their email marketing service that has helped us increase leads by over 112% over the last year. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services and lists like insurance providers, softwares, equipment suppliers, marketing sources, and much, much more. The best part? This resource is free. Go check out Moversville Connect today by going to moversville.com and clicking Connect. That's moversville.com and click Connect and discover the world of Moversville beyond email. One of the worst parts about owning a moving company has to be finding quality movers and drivers. Trying to run all the job ads takes up time, and then you schedule guys to come in for interviews and they never show up. It's a massive headache. Well, let me tell you about a good friend of mine named Winston who runs a company called Move Up Consulting. Move Up specializes in hiring and recruiting for the moving and storage industry, and they do all the lead generation for mover and driver candidates. They have a fully built hiring CRM, plus you get a dedicated account manager who phone interviews and screens all of your candidates. Once they find qualified candidates, they schedule in-person interviews for you and your management team so you can make great hires. They even handle all the appointment confirmations. It's that simple. To start building a better moving team today, visit moveupconsulting.com and tell them Wade sent you. Want to know what the silver bullet for growing your business is? USA Home Listings. USA Home Listings has a myriad of marketing services that are essential to every single moving company. It blows my mind when I have conversations with people who reach out looking for help, trying to get leads, trying to get the phone to ring, that aren't doing mailers and aren't subscribed to USA Home Listings. The data there is so invaluable, and it's not just home listing data, even though that's an awesome, super easy, super intuitive feature that they provide where you can filter out all of the homes that recently went under contract or got listed in your neighborhood, and a new coming soon feature before it even hits the MLS that you can filter out through zip codes, towns, cities, counties, prices. But that's just one small feature that they do. They also have turnkey mailing services. They'll help you design your postcard, a postcard that actually gets results. If you've tried mailers in the past and it didn't work, it's probably because you didn't have the right elements on your postcard. And they also have a social media division. So check out USAHomelistings.com. It's an essential addition to all of your marketing needs. Before you do any other marketing, check out USAHomelistings.com.
I'm just starting to partner and invest in moving companies directly. So where before, private clients would pay me, $40,000 to, help them and consult them and speak to them once a month and, guide them on stuff. What needs to happen now to really get your business to evolve and get to this place where you're going to succeed at this new level in this new stage, if you want to call it that, this new life cycle of the industry? I need to get my hands in there and I need to figure out what's working. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working with, my top students and clients and looking to partner with them and go in and put my skin in the game and not just give the advice, but say, let's do this together. Like, let's go. Like, I want to go full circle and bring back that, I guess it's childhood dream. At 19, you feel like a kid, right? Let's build that $100 million business, right? We've been talking about this, as the event comes up, like everything I do now, I want to have fun doing it. And I want to be with people that I enjoy. And I want to be going after something really big that excites us and gets us going. Like that was that dull point that led me to that conversation with Dean, which was like, I was doing stuff, but there was nothing big that got me like, man, I want to wake up and get after this, right? I really want to make this happen. And so partnering and investing with moving companies, partnering and investing with service providers that can, like with Smartmoving, like that was, for me, that was an amazing partnership because it provided the platform to facilitate all of the training and the teaching that until that was there, I was like, oh, you got to take this platform and that platform. And, we used to have like 8 different things that we'd tie together. And I remember being on stage teaching it and people looking at me like I don't know how we're going to pull that off. So when Smartmoving came out, it was awesome. And, I was blessed to be able to exit from Smartmoving in 2022. And, so yeah, that's basically what I'm up to.
I love it. So you've been in this industry now for over 2 decades. You started in the early 2000s. You went through the recession. You exited during a time when a lot of the stuff that we now take for granted, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your, whatever else was just kind of in its infancy, and started with the consulting space over the last 8 years. You laid a roadmap for hundreds, if not thousands, of moving companies to do business better and to elevate that industry. And then you got into Smartmoving, which totally changed the game again. So you've been here through all these different stages and all these different changes in the industry. I'm curious to hear like your perspective. How has the industry changed since you started? And even since you started in the consulting space, in the coaching space 8 years ago, how has it changed, over the last decade, over the last, from the beginning all the way up to where you came onto the scene, helping everybody else out. And then with Smartmoving and everything else that's happened over the last few years. And now we have AI, we have all kinds of new softwares and programs, and the algorithms have all changed. I mean, what have you seen from your side of the table?
Yeah, great question. So, well, number one, transparency is key. You can't run a shitty company and, still stay in business, right? I mean, the reviews are everything, and that's been that way since, even for a while now, but it's really become just people's go-to, right? So I think more and more people are realizing like, hey, I can't just book a move and throw some guys on a truck and, like we got to train them. We got to make sure they know exactly what they're doing. They need to go out there. They need to ask for the reviews, right? We all know that. We've all seen that. We've got, pricing. I mean, just the inflation alone and the cost of things for movers has been a challenge. The amount of competition, coming and going. I don't know about sustaining, but coming and going has really lifted. But I think right now, in the last couple of years, what I've seen and what I see for the future is I see a tremendous opportunity to really streamline the systems and streamline the company's operating system to reduce costs tremendously. It's this period of time, and I don't know. I don't. We didn't have every single person in the industry at our events, right? We didn't have every single person in the industry in the courses or watching the videos. But what I know is that there's things that we know, and then there's things that we implement. And right now, I think everyone is aware that AI is a thing, that automation is a thing, that outsourcing is a thing. But how do you bring that all together to create a customer experience that is top notch, a customer experience that's 5-star, while still providing a good work life balance, a good work experience for your team? And I think right now we're in this like sweet spot where it feels, like a lot of people run, like everybody's like, oh, the economy, the housing market. Like I know I watched it happen in 2008 where so many people got in their head, the housing market's collapsing. It's like their friends are telling them, how are you even in business? Nobody's moving. There's a recession. And when that stuff gets in your head, you start believing that. And then it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And yes, there's some challenges right now. Yes, the weaker companies, and when I say weaker, I describe weaker as they're not operating on the front end of getting customers at the level that they need to. They're not operating on the execution piece of performing the move at the level that they need to. And then their back end administration of their numbers and their team is not at the level that they need to. And so the future will be people that don't, like the future being now and moving forward, will be if you don't adapt, you're not going to make it. And so in order to adapt, you've really got to stay up on what's working in marketing, right? How do we automate certain aspects of that? How do we implement AI on the front end piece? Because if you think about any business, any moving business, I like to look at it as an operating system, right? And there's three systems there. There's the acquisition piece, like marketing and sales, right? Booking moves. Then there is the execution piece, which is performing the move, right? Which really consists of hiring, training movers, right? Managing them, and then handling the customer service. Like that's all part of the execution of the move. And then there's the administration, essentially the back end of it, your numbers and your HR and your reputation management and things like that. And it's a lot, I look at it and I see people and, it's a lot to handle and be on top of. When I started, I had looking back, I guess the blessing of saying like, hey, I put a Yellow Page ad in and the phone rang. And as long as I picked up that phone and was, delivered on, everybody that's been through like Moving Sales Academy, like the sales pitch and the script and the rebuttals and all of that stuff. It's like, as long as that was there, it wasn't so complex. Like we literally would sit with our feet on the desk and just answer the phones and kind of take orders. It's so far from that now, the complexity of it, that you've got to crack the code on the complexity. You've got to get AI, you've got to get your virtual assistants, you've got to get your automation, you've got to really look to craft the business, not just say, I'm going to get in this business, I'm going to plug in, I'm going to buy some leads, I'm going to get those leads and get some people to call them, and then we're going to send some guys out and do it. Like it's got to be really crafted in a way that produces the consistent results, right? That's it. That's the biggest problem moving companies are facing is consistent results, high profits and raving fans. If everybody in here listening had, high profits and raving fans consistently, for the most part, life would be good. You're like, okay, this is great. So I think for us, what I'm looking to do for companies is come in and support with the pieces that feel like a lot, to be able to, no matter where you are. I remember when I had multiple locations and I was flying from one to the next, it felt like a seesaw. I would go to one and fix everything. And then all of a sudden I'd go to another one. And then that stuff would start to have issues and challenges. This is really before I got serious about systems and processes and SOPs and dialing all that in. And I watch people with that struggle. And so we want to come in and say, hey, look, we'll handle all the acquisition piece for you. We'll handle all the administration piece for you. We'll give you the formula to go out and perform that perfect move and the support that you need. And something that I've learned over time, and, I learned it with the, partnership and with Smartmoving. I learned it with Dean and Tony and being involved with those guys in the world and all the other guys that I met through them. You can get so much further with a partnership than you can on your own. And so I think that there's an opportunity for companies that, that have met at my event or will meet at your event that, and I've seen it happen. I've seen companies, of companies that became partners, like they met and they became partners and they did their thing. Somebody strong in sales, somebody strong in operations, like let's divide and conquer, versus if you feel right now like you're just constantly overwhelmed, you're constantly underwater, you never feel like you're going to be able to get ahead, like you've got to shift something. And so how are you to handle the acquisition, the execution, the administration is really important. And for me, that's why I want to do more than just consult. I want to actually partner with these companies because I want to go in and like crack this code. It's exciting. It's like a new time, to be able to go in and start looking at all these, In
case you haven't already heard about it, I want to tell you about the latest project that I've been working on called Tighten Up Training. And it's not just me, it's 3 other world-class moving company owners from around North America that have pooled together our resources, our time, and our knowledge to bring you the #1 training program for moving companies in the world. We've got over 200 videos on mover training, sales, culture, leadership, and we're continuing to add more and more to streamline training. We gamify the process in short little videos that are easy for your team to follow, and they're quizzed on retention. Rather than spend hundreds of thousands of dollars of your own money and months of your time tying up resources away from your own moving company, we're bringing you Tighten Up training for less than the cost of one damage claim a month, or less than the cost of booking one extra move per month. You book one extra move, it pays for itself. You save the time to have to take away time from your day or pay somebody to train new employees and to onboard new employees, it pays for itself. You avoid one damage claim or book one extra move a month, you got it. It pays for itself. It's so affordable. And we put so much time, money, and resources into this to build out something that our companies can use every day so that we can tighten up this summer and reduce claims. Since our company has gone on here, we're booking more jobs than ever, and we're reducing more claims than we've ever had. And we are teed up to have the best summer ever. So check out Tighten Up Training. Schedule a free 30-minute demo today by going to tightenuptraining.com.
For me, before Smartmoving was there was a vision of how I wanted the operation to run, right? Like, at our height, we had 6 locations, a long distance division, we had a broker division, we had 60 people on the phones in the call center. And how do we run this systematically, right? Like, I don't want to think through things more than once. And it was great. You had to piece and patch all this stuff together. But now, with the technology and the AI, it's incredible. And the other piece is, I don't know, it's just a hunch. And I'm not one to make big predictions, but I'm leaning towards this. Where I live here in Phoenix, they've got these Waymos. You've seen these Waymos?
No, I don't know what that is.
So it's a self-driving Uber, essentially.
Okay. I have seen those.
No driver, right? And there's more and more and more of them popping up. And then you get in an Uber and you talk to those guys, and they're cutting back on their pay. They're cutting back on their, all their incentives and everything that, where for a while, a lot of movers were leaving to go be Uber drivers or do other things, right? Or to go be in the knowledge space. Well, the knowledge space, the knowledge worker, that's being disrupted tremendously by AI, right? So what happens when you've got autonomous cars, right? I don't know about you. I went in it a couple of times, and it's a little nerve-wracking. But then when you start to really look at it and go, no, that versus a human who's distracted, who's in a bad mood, who's aggressively driving. I've been in some Ubers that I'm just like, oh man, let me out, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take over that whole space. I think it's something that there's no need for someone to drive that vehicle anymore. And so what are all these people going to do? Well, I don't know, but some of them will come and be movers if we've got the right training for them, if we've got the right incentive packages, if we could pay them properly. It's like, look, a desk job, like who wants a desk job? The research is there about back pain and scoliosis and all the shit that goes along with like working at a desk job inside, fluorescent lights, all of that. If we can make moving a little sexier, a little bit more, appealing, right? Which, it's like, hey, let's sell the fact that you're physically using your body. Like there's, and there's tons of research you could point to for all of this stuff, right? You're out there seeing new places. I'm sure you have this in everybody, in your ads and when you're recruiting and all that, like you get to be in new homes. But I think we need to physically exercise as well, right? But I think there's an opportunity. And what I'm really interested in is I look at the movers that I had over the years. And I've had, great guys. I've had, gang members. I've had, guys that, just got out of prison. And, for me, I'm not quick to judge anybody. I want to understand what happened. We all make mistakes. I've made mistakes. I've been in trouble. So it's like, what was the scenario? And I think we have a tremendous opportunity, and maybe this is the, working with Dean and Tony and just really trying to uplift people. But like, I want to provide mentorship to the movers as well, right? I want to help teach them life skills. Like, why do they have to stay moving furniture their whole life if they don't want to? Why not come and work for a company that's going to help you to develop as most of them are men, as a man or as a woman, right? I think personal development is what saved my life. When I was in a down and dark place and, thought I had everything and a recession hit and I started losing everything and I fell into a deep depression. It was like the personal development stuff, the meditation, the taking care of yourself, the working out, the reading the books, the understanding how the mind works. That was everything. So I think when we look at, I believe there's going to be a whole workforce of people that are going to be out of work because of AI. The Waymo and Uber thing is one of them. I think if we could attract them into moving, we solve the labor problem. If we could give them the proper training, which again, thank you for making the mover training. It was like for 8 years, everybody wanted it. And I'm just like, here's the framework. Here's how to do your own. But I didn't do it. I didn't feel like doing it. For me, what I always wanted to discuss was the higher level stuff. But that doesn't mean that the training of the movers is insignificant. It's not. It's really, it's the core, right? We go back to what does the customer care about? What they care about is that mover that shows up at the door. What they care about is the service that they receive. What they care about is that first impression. Is the first impression they're at the door, smile. Like we need to teach them how to interact with people. Like think about not only what you do for your company, but what we do for society when we take, like I said, sometimes underprivileged individuals who end up doing moving because that's just what they could do and what they could find, but make it a career path, but also make it a place where they learn how to talk to people, right? That's communication and relationships and leadership. That's what success is made out of. And when they show up to that door, they have to give that customer the impression that like, we've got this. We've got you. We're going to take care of this. We understand all the stuff that matters versus, hey, I'm Louis. What's up? Sign the contract. They see two guys out smoking cigarettes by the truck. Like, that first impression, it sounds so simple and it is, but it's everything. So what I see is there's going to be companies that don't adapt. They're going to go out of business. I also see an opportunity for, and we've seen it. We've seen a lot. You guys are doing it with Tighten Up Training, with the Moving Tighten Retreat. Movers who are going, hey, we could provide a service to movers, right? Like I have a moving company. I want to get out of this, or I also want to do something else. Like we've got a bunch of other, clients that have moved on to provide services for movers. So I think people are either going to get out of the business and get into something else. They're going to look for a way to serve the industry that they know, which is, what I did. Or they're going to crack the code on how to succeed in this new dynamic that we're in. And they're going to succeed beyond the levels that they thought possible. I know the cost savings are there, for us, part of partnering with, multiple companies is that ability, economies of scale to where we could say, now we have the ability to go in and negotiate pricing on insurance, trucks, equipment, like marketing, whatever that might be. We've got the ability now to, have that back end office and that C-suite that's really like, we don't just have like someone that looks at what leads we're buying and is trying to keep up with it while they're trying to book some jobs. It's like, no, we're dialing this in. We're taking real time data and feedback, right? Utilizing AI, getting what we need to be able to adapt. So for me, it's exciting because now I'm getting to go in, and I've done this really for the last 8 years. I've kind of seen behind the scenes of a lot of companies and have identified some people that are really operating at a level, some of them beyond what I was even doing, right? So it's like, all right, well, let's make this dynamic. Let's take the best of what everybody's doing. Let's create one way of doing it. And then once we do that, we all know that, if you package up, 50 moving companies and 20, whatever that number is, your multiples are going to be higher on an exit. And I do think that right now, you must have an exit strategy. You got to have a 3 to 5 year plan to get out of this business. And even if you decide to stay in it, one of the things I've always said was like, build a model, right? Build the model, A model business is something that's highly profitable. It runs without you. It's system, it's process driven, right? You've got raving fans. You enjoy it, right? If you're like, man, I hate this business. It stresses me out. And you're like, let me open 3 more, right? What's that going to do to your life? But if you can create this model that you are like, wow, this is amazing. When it comes to expansion, it's copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, right? The only thing that needs to be developed is how do we run all of these locations, right? That was something I learned early on because the first year that I expanded, I opened, was this 2003? I opened 3 offices in the first year after and I was just like all over the place, right? I thought I had it dialed in until I put it to the test. So, I think everybody's got to have an exit strategy. I think when companies can come together, you're looking at a higher multiple, right? You're looking at more sophisticated buyers that will come in and they're looking for something that they can layer onto, right? It's like your average moving company. If you sell it and it's not a model, meaning it's not turnkey, people will say, oh, well, like, what's the pitch for your company? What makes your company great? Well, we've been in business for this many years. I personally am here every day. I've got Betty in the back office, and Betty's, she's been with me for 20 years, and she's great, and da 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 da. Okay, if somebody's looking for a job and wants to be their own boss, or somebody within your company wants to elevate themselves, like, you could sell it to them, and you're going to get yourself, you're not going to get a very, high multiple, right? But if you start getting those numbers up and consolidating everything, the multiples start to skyrocket. So even, that's for me, it's like the people we partner with, their opportunity, we lay this out for them, is like your opportunity as part of the pie versus the whole pie is much bigger, right? Like, what you're going to end up with on your plate is going to be much bigger with a slice of the pie than it will be the whole pie. Because companies are looking to come in, moving is when you think about the customer's journey, there's stuff that happens before the move, right? Like there's going upstream, right? Let's go upstream and let's think about all the things that are happening before they actually decide they need a moving company. Okay. Then they get to the move. Then what about all the things after the move? So as a moving company, we're in a perfect spot to engage that customer, build a relationship with that customer, turn them into a raving fan, and then offer that customer additional services that they're going to need as a new homeowner or renter. It doesn't matter. But there's going to be things that they're going to need that we can tap into as a moving company. So if you're listening and you've got a one-off, you've got one company, you can do this and you could create partnerships and, have different type of home services that you can buckle on. And you can kind of, years ago, we used to sell alarm services, home internet, home phone, right? When it was still a thing, cable, all of these things. And what does that do? That creates a higher value for each one of your customers, right? Right now, your customers are basically the sum of your average move, right? I mean, that's the value to the company. And then obviously whatever, then they put a 5-star review that adds a little bit more value. And I think it's important that everybody adds a monetary value to those reviews because it is there, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the word of mouth and all that. But now if you could start to add more stuff, that's great. Well, that's what makes a company that is spread out geographically throughout, let's just say, the US, right? But we've got clients that are doing this in, Canada and different places. It makes a sophisticated buyer, right? Private equity, right? Say, you know what? This is what it is, but here's all the stuff we could add to it, right? Here's how we can make this even better. And so I think no matter where you are, what level you're at, if you build the model Like that should just be the focus, right? I mean, if you look at the different levels, you're either starting, right? When you're starting out, that was me in the truck rental yard, just like, shit, I have no idea what I'm doing. Guys showing up for interviews, laughing at me. They thought I was like, what's this kid interviewing me out of the car? Like, this is ridiculous. You're just starting out. And then after you start out, you start to stabilize. You're like, okay, I get this. All right. I finally realized I can't send 3 movers to every job that calls in. The 12,000 square foot house needs a little bit more than that, right? You start to stabilize. You start to figure out, okay, this works, that doesn't work. Then you go from stabilizing to systematizing. That's when you say, okay, we have to run this the same exact way every single time. We need consistency. It's like you realize like when you're stabilizing, you're like, man, I'm so glad I got Pete. I'm so glad I got Jose. I'm so glad I got Tom. These guys are rock stars, but you can't create consistency and predictability around just a few guys. And even if you can, you can't scale. So you go from starting to stabilizing to systematizing from there. And what's systematizing? It's really just how do we do things? Let's document that. And then let's train everybody on it. Let's get them doing the stuff the same way so we could create consistency. That's part of the model. Once you do that, then you get to a place that I call sailing. You're just sailing. Like you're just, oh, man, things are good. I'm sailing, right? And most of the time, people don't enjoy that time. They don't enjoy that place. It's just like on to the next thing. But it's okay. There needs to be a period of time. And if it's 2 weeks or 2 years, whatever, but it's like acknowledge like, hey, we made it to this place. We're sailing. I'm not like slave to the business anymore, right? I've got some predictability. I've got some clarity and some control over what's going on. So I could kind of see my numbers and understand what's happening. I'm not just constantly filled with anxiety because, it's all based on how many moves booked, how much money's in the bank account, all of that. And then once you're sailing, then you start scaling, right? Then you start scaling. Because what a lot of people do, and I watch it, and I did this, I was stabilizing. I thought I had systems with my one office in Denver, right? So I'm like, oh, let's scale. Well, I didn't really systematize at the level that I should have. I never got to the place of sailing, but I tried to scale. And I basically had to get pushed right back down. It's like almost like a law. Like you can't get there without going through these other places. So I had to get pushed back down and figure out, all right, what are those systems for scaling? But then when you start scaling, you open that additional location. Let's just say that's your scaling. Scaling could also be just you're expanding your footprint. It could be you're bringing on more marketing. It could be you're starting a long distance division, whatever that might be. But let's say you're opening another location. Well, once you start scaling, you essentially have to go back to systematizing because now your business model has changed. What it takes to run one location where you're there, you see it, you hear it, you smell it, right? You know what's going on. You could walk in and be like, why is there trash in the parking lot? Like, why is this truck still sitting here? Why are these guys hanging out? Like, you don't see that all anymore when you have multiple locations. So you have to have a different level of vision and optics into what's happening. For me, back in the day, it was like daily fax reports, right? Like, so to be able to have the level of the technology and just even starting with, Smartmoving, right? Just to be able to have that and be able to have those insights, have everything in one place is huge. But no matter what, everybody right now should just be focusing on systematizing those 3 big areas of their business, which is acquisition. How do we get moves, right? Marketing and sales. How do we get them? Right? Or how do we partner with someone who's just going to literally put them in our system? Like, there you go. There's your moves, right? Like somehow, some way, you've got to figure out how to systematize getting moves consistently. Then you've got to perform that perfect move consistently, right? And that's, it's like if you're, not to oversimplify it, but this whole business is book moves, service moves, book moves, service moves, right? And a lot of times it's outweighed, right? You have the capacity to take on more, but you don't have the capabilities to get more. And then once you get more, you're like, oh shit, we got all these leads, we got all these jobs. You're like, we don't have enough crews. So on the execution piece, that's why, again, I love what you've done with the training for movers, is we've got to be able to have a hiring and training machine. I've talked about the sales machine. Absolutely, you need that too. But you also need that hiring and training machine. And what that's going to take is that's going to take a mindset and an understanding. I like to live through this lens of like everything that comes up, there's either action or acceptance, right? It's either you either take action on it or you accept it the way that it is. And I hear so many people with victim talk that's like, you don't understand. Nobody shows up for the interview. We place the ad. Nobody come. They come, we train them, then they don't show up. And it's like, okay, what are those stats? What are those numbers? If you had 100 applications, how many turned into a phone interview? How many turned into an in-person interview? How many turned into they started? And then how many turned into they actually got into the rotation? And then how many became your A players? Know those numbers, know those KPIs. And then when you need to hire, it's not this like, oh, nobody showed up. It's like, no, if we want 4 guys, we got to get 200 applications. And I'm not saying that's the exact number. It's different in every market, but it's just a mindset. If you're listening and you're finding yourself talking negatively about the business, there's a difference between being practical and a realist and knowing what's going on and injecting your mind with stuff that's going to make you not take the action you need to take to bring your business and your life to where it needs to go. And it's just going to strip away your confidence. It's just going to inject more self-doubt. And that's the stuff. I mean, that's for me, my main mission, Wade, is like the profit and thrive mission, right? My main mission was like when I became successful in this business, quote unquote, successful, like from a money standpoint, man, I was miserable. Like I didn't spend any time creating a balanced human, right? And I thought, no, I'm going to make enough money and everything's going to fall into place. And it didn't. And then once I learned to make myself a priority and not feel guilty about that, to take care of my mind, my body, my spirit, man, my business shifted. I mean, that's how we went to, 20 million. It wasn't, like our hustle and our grind will get us far. My hustle and my grind got me far, but then it also got me burnt out, depressed, suicidal, like just in that place. We all get to that point, and if you're feeling that right now, it's just a signal that it's time to evolve, right? It's just a signal that the approach that you're taking might just need to be shifted a little bit, the way you're thinking about it, right? I mean, I think it's so important that we all spend time thinking about our thinking. I mean, I literally, every day I'm spending time journaling, thinking about my thoughts, thinking about what's going on. How do we solve that? What's going on here? Is this really a problem? Do I need to act on it right away? Or do I need to be patient, watch and see what happens? That's really what being an entrepreneur is all about. And that's the type of stuff that right now, look, I've been doing the same thing for the last 8 years and it's been comfortable, right? It's been, I think I shared good information. I think I've got some good insights for movers, especially. But there was no challenge, right? There was nothing bigger. And so I would say everybody listening, think about what your next big move is, right? What's the thing you need to do right now? And for some people, maybe that's, I just need to, I got to hire somebody. I've been doing everything myself and I got to hire somebody. For somebody else, it's like, oh no, I'm going to get this thing together. I'm going to get a 3-year plan. I'm going to sell. I'm going to get some money, or I'm going to start partnering, or whatever that might be. What's your next big move? Because this is a transitional period. So if you're not taking action, like I said earlier, it's either action or acceptance. Everything that comes up, it's like we could fester on it and we could be, I'm so mad and oh, this sucks. And it's like, okay, then you either, is there something you could do about it? Okay, there is. Are you willing to do that thing? You are? Then go do it. You're not willing to do it, or there's nothing you could do, then you have to just accept it. We have to accept the things that are outside of our control. The economy, we can't be sitting on the sidelines right now and waiting to see who gets in the office to figure out if we're going to grow our business or not grow our business. Right. And that's not, it doesn't matter who you're going for. It's not a political statement at all. It's what can we control and what can we not control? And we need to be the captain of our own ship and not just, float around in the water and see where the tides take us.
Yeah, no, and I love the saying, don't worry about who's moving into the White House. Worry about who's moving your customer's next house,
Yeah, there you go.
especially in our industry.
I love
No,
that.
man, good stuff there. And as far as those self-driving cars go, I mean, I personally can't wait till we have self-driving moving trucks. That's going to definitely, hopefully, bring those number stats down a little bit as far as trying to find good drivers. Via, it's going to cost money though. It's I'm sure going to be extremely expensive if and when that day comes. And the bigger companies are going to be the only ones who can get that, and they're just going to get that much farther ahead when that technology becomes available. And the ones that are positioned to do that or to be able to partner up in order to take on those deep pockets are going to be the ones that succeed. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on something. We look at like Tommy Mello. He's speaking at the event. He's in the garage door industry, and he speaks to a lot of home service providers in HVAC and plumbing and electrical and some of these other home services. And there's a lot of nine-figure home service businesses out there, and private equity is getting very interested in a lot of those, and they're getting involved in a lot of them. Tommy's included. Why don't you think there's hardly any independently owned nine-figure moving companies? I can think of maybe two or three possibly that are some of the largest moving companies out there that are independently owned in the nine figures. But the big moving companies that you and I both know for the most part, maybe you know some that I don't, but 20-30 million dollars seems to kind of be where like a lot of that revenue tops out for an independently owned mover. Why aren't we seeing independently owned movers that grow into the nine figures? And do you think that there's a way to get there?
Yeah, well, I think number one, you got to have that vision, right? You've got to say, I'm that's where I'm going. That's where I'm headed. If you're just like, hey, I'm going to hustle hard and we're going to book as many moves as we can, and we get to 1 million, shit, we get to 2 million, oh, we get to 3 million. You're never going to get to 100 million that way. So it's deciding, like, basically, I've decided, right? Like, that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. And yes, there are a couple of good examples of companies that have done this on a major level. Why don't they do it? Well, because shit, Wade, it's hard enough to run one moving company, and then you start getting into two, and you start getting into three, and um, I think that the adaptation and the evolution and the focus and all of that needs to really be in the place, and the teams need to be there. I mean, you can't do it by yourself. Like, you've got to bring on the right people, right? And that's why I'm not sitting here going, hey, I'm gonna go start 50 companies. It's like, no, I'm gonna go find people that are like, hey, Louis, like, I'd love to partner with you. Like, let's fucking do this. Let's blow it up and add value there. So I think it's one of those things. It's a different level of thinking. Everybody goes, man, I'd love to have 100 million bucks, right? Some people are like, I won't even know what to do with that kind of money. I'm just trying to get to, I'm just trying to get $1 million business. The reason I think that it hasn't happened as much as other industries is just because moving is a smaller industry. It's a smaller industry. When you look at HVAC, when you look at these other industries, the amount of customers and transactions that they have is much higher. You also have the ability for a lot more recurring business like that, like Tommy's model as well. I mean, there's, we use his company, right? Both my houses, I got his sticker on my garage. So it's like, there's something you need, you're always calling them. Where movers, we move somebody once and, we don't move them again for a few years. But I think the real reason is just nobody set their sights on doing it except a few people that have done it. And then you need to have the vision for it. You need to have the strategy for it. You need to have the leadership for it. And then you got to execute. And you've got to be very focused and tunnel vision on it, where, you've got a plan. Like, going back to, when I was open locations, setting up the infrastructure to open the 50. For 7 years, I didn't do long distance. And I had my team hounding me. You got to do long distance. Look at all these leads we get in this office, in this office, in this office, in this. We could like plug in and we could turn this on. I'm not blaming them at all. I made the final decision, but I was like, man, all right, let's, and I went and bought $1.2 million worth of, long distance trucks. And started getting in the long distance, which was like a whole nother beast. Took me almost 2 years to like really get it dialed in and get it under control. And then we started the brokering, and that opened up a whole nother can of worms. So that's where the focus piece comes in, right? What's the model? Not everything needs to be scaled, right? So let's say you're a moving company right now and you've got local moving, you've got long distance moving, you've got storage, maybe you're a van line agent, maybe you got a cleaning service, maybe you've got a few things that you've got going on. You've got to take each one and dissect each product, if you will, each service line, and see which one really makes sense, which one is scalable, right? Which one's scalable, which one drains us, which one is just taxing. I mean, I talk to clients that have they've been in the business years. They're van line agents. They've got long distance, and they're like, man, the long distance I'm not making any money. It's costing me money. And we've got so much staff that we have to support it all. And I'm not, there's a lot of people making a ton of money in long distance too. So it's not a, one way over the other, but it's a focus thing. Like find the thing that works and then duplicate that, repeat that, right? And then build it up. And you've got to go into it. Sometimes we don't know what's possible also. Right? Like sometimes, unless we've seen somebody else do it, or somebody shows us the way, it's hard to envision something that big, right? I mean, when you started, you're not thinking that way, and then some people made you, oh, sure, oh man, they're buying this. Oh, okay, damn, maybe,
yeah.
right?
Every time I'd leave one of your events or one of our events, I'd always come back with this new grandiose vision, and I'd see people doing it at the next level, and I'd be like, there is a way to get there. It's not, can I get there? It's how can I get there?
So for me, yeah, absolutely. So for me, like I think about those four things. I think about vision, right? You got to have the vision. If you don't have the vision, right? And that starts with your life, right? It starts with your life. So like I've incorporated this new vision as part of my life, as part of my lifestyle, as part of who I am, as part of what my brand is, as a part of what I'm about, as a part of my legacy, as a part of what my kids are going to know about me, think about me, all of that. Then the vision is like, okay, what's the vision? If I just had to explain what we're going to do, right? Which I've done that quite a bit lately. It's like, can someone see it in a way that it's like, oh, that's possible. Okay. Then if it's possible, okay, now let's go to strategy. What's the strategy? That's it. Everything is strategy. Everything is strategy and systems, right? We all could come up with a great vision. We could we could visualize, we could, we could have a vision board. We could see what other people do. We could sit across from that dream house and just look at it and have a vision. But like, what's the strategy and systems that you're going to put in place to help see that? And then it goes to leadership. And leadership is something that, man, I'm so grateful for, this year and spending time with Dean and Tony and the people they've got around, and just the level of leadership in a short period of time that I elevated myself in, right? I mean, we always need to be evolving as a leader. And there's a difference between leadership and management. And I think that's where we get stuck. And I think as moving company owners, sometimes when you're day in and day out, your frustrations come from the movers, man, there's different levels of people you could hire to help you to fulfill your vision. But as a mover, the core of your team are people that, they're not showing up, they're not doing the thing, they're not listening. And I think it jades a lot of moving company owners. Oh man, nobody could do anything. It's like, no, there's people out there that can do the stuff you need them to do, but it just takes a different level of leadership. How do we direct them? How do we speak to them? How do we give them the autonomy? So for me right now, I'm developing my leadership team, right? I'm developing like, okay, I'm not going in and doing all the stuff. Like I know my role. I know where I sit and what position my strengths lie in. How do I go and get the people around me that can fulfill the other parts of that, where we could work together harmoniously, right? Like not just like, oh, I get the people, because there's relationship there. And most of leadership is relationship. Most of leadership is understanding the human condition, understanding what that individual is about, what makes them tick, what makes Wade tick, right? What gets you going? Where are your strengths? Where are your weaknesses? And how do we assemble a team where we're putting the right strengths in the right role in the right seat to be able to accomplish that? And then you send them out to execute. So it's the vision, the strategy, the leadership, and the execution. So I think somewhere along those lines, somebody listening right now, I think would be like, man, it's the vision. I'm not even clear on what I want. Or, man, I got the vision, but I don't have the strategy. Or, you know what? Leadership. You know, if you got to go read John Maxwell books, or you got to, whatever you got to do to get your leadership dialed in. Part of leadership is, I call it active leadership, is like going to an event, right? That's why I'm coming next week. Like I'm coming, I'm going to come speak, but I also want to hear what other people have going on, right? It's like always be learning, always know what's going on. We can't lead if we're not at the forefront of what's happening. But I think essentially it's that shift from management to leadership, the vision, the strategy, and then, Wade, honestly, the belief in yourself, right? The belief in yourself, because, for me, it's, man, you grow, you evolve, you want to do something, you have a vision for something. And I know sometimes I have an idea and I don't end up executing on that idea for a year, 2 years, right? If you think about this plan that let's go and let's, kind of put, great company in every city, man, that's a 24-year-old vision that got blurred and got derailed, and my self-confidence got punched in the gut multiple times. And you just have to keep going, right? Like you've got to keep moving forward no matter what. And I think the key is, for me, I take this stance of, and I'm blessed and fortunate to be able to say this, but like I've got everything in my life that I want. And everything else from here is a bonus. But I enjoy the game of business. I enjoy let's just come up. It's like magic, right? Like let's think of an idea. Okay, let's map out a strategy. Let's go make it happen. And I think that's where we get to this place of being in this economy and listening to the news and all the naysayers, and everything is just doomsday. And it's like, man, no, I don't care how strong you are. If you listen to that stuff over and over and over and over, it doesn't just infect your mind, it infects your entire nervous system. It gets in your body, right? And decisions you make and things you choose to do or not do are going to be impacted by that. So I think, the vision, strategy, leadership, execution, and then you got to work on protecting your confidence and in a grounded, mature way, right? Not in a, egotistical, arrogant way.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I used to fall asleep at night listening to, some kind of entertainment podcast or talk radio or whatever, drive around in my truck listening to talk radio. And I've been studying a lot on like NLP and just like, a lot of these other things. And I know Tony talks a lot about NLP. And since I made that shift, it's been crazy. Like just how often I'm now able to consciously catch myself thinking negative thoughts, but being aware of it and being able, no, I don't want to go in that direction. I'm going to think this positive thought about this thing. And I heard this recently, like when you watch TV, listen to that talk radio, whatever, you're in like a mild state of hypnosis during that period. And NLP is kind of like the reverse of that, where it's like positive hypnosis, to where it's going to put you in a state that's going to serve you versus just scare you. And, I'm glad you brought that up. We're coming up here on time. Is there anything else you want to throw in here, Louis?
No, man, that's it. But I'm really glad you're diving into that stuff. And you've heard me say it at the seminars. People are, Louis, what's the best business book? And I'm like, look, go to the personal development section, find what resonates with you and start there. Because if you can get this right, if you can get your mindset right, if you can start to control your thoughts and your emotions and the direction of where you put your focus, everything shifts and the business stuff falls into place. So I'm glad to hear you're doing that and that you're providing a platform for that too. Right. So like the Moving Titan retreat next week, man, I'm pumped. I'm excited. I'm for me, it's like I'm not doing an event, but I know there'll be a lot of people in that audience that I will recognize. I'll see their faces, and it's a homecoming for me. It's a, I love the people that I get to work with. That's one thing if anyone's listening that ever didn't, we didn't accept in one of our programs. It's like, I have a love for people in this industry, and it's like a kindred spirit type of thing, because I know how hard it is. I know how much it takes to do it. I know how much it takes to juggle movers and then high-end clients and then your team, and they don't listen, and then the season. I mean, there's so much to it. So for those that are coming, man, I just have to say you're my kind of people, and I'll be there with you, listening, learning, and I'm going to really I'm going to lay out what we talked about today. I mean, we talked about it on a really high level, but we're going to dive into, like, here's what's going on in the industry. Here's what you need to do to adapt, like, right away. Like a game plan, right? I don't want to just get up there and talk stuff. I mean, it's like, if you guys have been to my events, there's tangible takeaways. And then really break down how I'm going to, do these partnerships and what we're going to do moving forward. Man, if you guys aren't going, get your tickets and come out to Tampa. I'm leaving the family behind. I'm leaving business behind. I mean, I get it, right? There's a lot to, get up and go somewhere. And it's, here we are. If you're listening to this, it's last minute. Like, listen, you're talking about less than 1% of your year to go immerse yourself in an environment and hear what's going on from people that have got stuff going on, or that, cutting edge. And I'll see you guys in Tampa. That's it. I'm excited.
We're excited to have you, Louis. We're super honored to have you there. And, 1% of the entire industry is going to be at this event, but it's going to be the top. It's going to be the people that are either in the top 1% or make it into the top 1%. And we're going into a slow season during probably the slowest economy in moving since 2008. I wasn't in the moving industry in 2008 yet. I came in a few years after that when it started to swing up again. But from everything I hear and from everything I've experienced over the years, it's a tough economy, and the people that aren't working on the self-development, that aren't going and getting in the room with the people that want to achieve that next level and get to that next level, are, they risk getting left behind. And you never know if there's one thing you could take away. I know every time I come to one of these events and I'm around the people in the room that are bigger than me, better than me, doing bigger things, they open up my eyes and lift me up. And I always come out of our own events, your events, any other conference I go to. I've been to all kinds of conferences, Tommy's events, Grant Cardone's events, whoever it is. I always walk away with this new fire under me, and this is the best time to have it, because, your competition is not going to have it going into the off season, and it's the time to pull ahead and gain up that market share. So, Louis, can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast. Can't thank you enough for coming out and speaking next week. Can't wait to spend a few days with you, and we'll look forward to getting out there and tighten up.
All right, man. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you next week.
See you then.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Grow Your Moving Company podcast. If you would like to learn more about any of the sponsors listed on this show, want to apply for the next Moving Titan retreat, or interested in owning or working for Two College Brothers franchise, drop me a line at wade@twocollegebrothers.com. Moving out. Have a great day.